Next item, it's the report of the Secretary General of the OSCE Parliamentary Assembly, Mr. Roberto Montella, and his eyes were blinking even if I didn't see it. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President. I've reported already at the Standing Committee on the first day, and I've distributed my written report. It's on the table and outside on the racks. So allow me, Mr. President, Madam President, just to use this opportunity to express few words of gratitude and make few highlights on my report. First of all, I would like to express a sincere and very heartfelt thank to the Belarusian Parliament. To the entire team who has organized this event. The event has been a great success. I've spoken to many delegations during the receptions. They all say that the event is extremely well organized. They're all extremely happy. And so I think the word of gratitude to the Parliament, to the authorities, but to all the people who have worked for this event. So thank you very much. These events would not be possible without, of course, the help of the International Secretariat. And here I would like to recognize the work of the OSCE PA team, Gustavo, Odile, Semyon, Kurt, Bo, Stephen, and I'm sure I'm forgetting many others. All of those who work on these events, they have a great experience in doing this. They normally do this in a long period of time. They come to visit in pre-assessment visits. So thank you very much, Gustavo, and the entire organization team. A word of thanks to the interpreters and translators who have been here even before we arrived to prepare the documents. They work under a lot of time pressure. Last night they worked until the very late hours to get the Minsk declaration in place. So thank you to the interpreters and to all those who have worked in the drafting committee. This event has been one of the most participated. We basically had all the delegation except from Mongolia, who just had an election, and Moldova. So it's been a big success also in terms of participation with big numbers. But I would like to spend just a word for the delegation of Uzbekistan, to thank them for participating. It's the first time they come to an annual session after a long period of interruption. This was also thanks to the mediation work of the president, who spoke to their foreign minister in Hamburg, and also to a recent visit of President Mutonin in Tashkent, which was the first visit in a long time to Uzbekistan. But also a word of thanks to Mr. Vice President Azayguliev, who has also been instrumental in at high-level contacts with the foreign minister of Uzbekistan to ensure that the Uzbeks participate in this event. So thank you to Uzbekistan. And not to forget also Ambassador McGregor, from the head of the OSCE mission, who is here, who is also helping us in contacts with the delegation in Uzbekistan. Okay, now I would like to congratulate also the Belarusian authorities and the OSCE PA team on choosing the theme. You have chosen a very pointed theme: enhancing trust, building confidence. This is the theme at the very center of the OSCE debate. We've heard from Ambassador Beckers how difficult it is in the Permanent Council. It's blocks, it's a ping-pong logic. Here in this assembly, we have a possibility to come out of this logic of confrontation. You've chosen a theme, enhancing trust, building confidence. We do not have a recipe on how we build confidence, how we enhance trust. My gut feeling tells me that a good way to start is to start from mutual respect. Come out of the logic that some of us know better than others, but try to respect each other when we engage in dialogue. That would be a good methodology to apply to our form of dialogue. Respect. I would say also no double standards. It's been mentioned in many of the interventions, and credibility of the international organizations. When we go in some places and we want to invite countries to adhere to some of the commitments of the OSCE, we must make sure that we have done our homework back at home. So it's very important to have maximum credibility and not exercise double standards. The OSCE situation, you've seen a very plastic figure today. We have 4 vacant chairs. This is for us something that we very much regret, because this Parliamentary Assembly is always called for a very strong OSCE. But unfortunately, as the OSCE works by consensus, the participating states in Vienna have not managed yet to find a consensus of who should be the holders of the position of Secretary General, of Director of the ODIHR, head of the freedom of the media, and the High Commissioner for National Minorities. Unfortunately, we do not have this position filled up as of today. We have, of course, people who are very strong in holding these offices, but we want the OSCE to have strong people and of high-level people in these positions. And something that you could do after this meeting when you go back home maybe would be to each of you make a phone call to your foreign minister, as they will all meet next week on Tuesday in Austria. Maybe ask them to try to find a way to get consensus over these 4 positions. There are candidates already in place, so that we can move on to a more effective business in the OSCE from Wednesday onwards. The internal situation of the Parliamentary Assembly, I don't want to take too much into details of what has been done since I've taken office, but one of my priorities was to give a bit of a more infrastructure also to the OSCE Parliamentary Assembly. So together with Gustavo and the management, we have now a new set of staffing rules. You've heard from the Treasurer also that the Standing Committee on the first day approved a new set of financial rules. And you will see from the budget structure, we also have introduced a new structure to our budget. So now we have a set of rules that govern the way also the International Secretariat serves you. This increases accountability, it increases transparency. Basically, it gives the ownership of the Assembly back to who it belongs, the members, and it makes the International Secretariat more accountable to the members. In terms of cooperation with the OSCE, I thank very much Ambassador Beckers for the words you've said. Indeed, the cooperation is as good as it gets. We have never had this strong level of cooperation with the OSCE structures in Vienna, with the ODIHR. The basic principle that we applied here is that rather than having a continuous conflict or a continuous polemic with the institutions of the OSCE, what we should do is to put all our assets together and focus on why the OSCE is there. I mean, what's the point of the OSCE? We have to focus on what are the issues on the ground. The challenge that we have, terrorism, migration, child trafficking, all the issues that we have debated over these last 5 days. So the OSCE Parliamentary Assembly works together with the rest of the institutions to deliver concrete results on the ground. This is a mature parliamentary assembly that calls on the governmental side to deliver concrete results on the ground. By talking on the cooperation, I would like to also spend a word to recognize the great legacy that Ambassador Lamberto Zanier leaves to the organization. He has been a sincere advocate of the work of parliamentarians. He has shown a great respect for this assembly. He has, on his own, decided to meet members of parliament wherever he visited in participating states. This has been a great change in attitude from the governmental side, and therefore a great word of gratitude to Lamberto Zanier, and a great word of gratitude also to Michael Link, the departing director of the ODIHR. It is also thanks to him, to his fact that he is also a former politician, so he understands politician well, that the cooperation on election monitoring is dramatically increased, and it's now, we have always talked about this relationship with the ODIHR, now it's sort of superseded in its history now. The relations is good, so hopefully we will no longer have this issue on the agenda in the next meetings. A word to also thank Mr. Lombardi and the entire Migration Committee. The way the Migration Committee, with the help of Farima, has operated is a sheer example of how I would like this assembly to operate. With a focus on the issues, on the dramatic issues that are on the ground. They have been everywhere possible. They have met every possible actor that is prominent in this issue, and they have set also an example on how the new committee, and here I congratulate also the Standing Committee in adopting the historical Russian proposal, but now presidential proposal on establishing an ad hoc committee on terrorism. The way the Migration Committee has worked, the modus operandi can be also a very good example for the incoming ad hoc committee on the fight against terrorism, and that committee will be indeed at the forefront of our activities in the next months. To conclude, I would like to thank you, Madam President, for your leadership, thank the members for confirming you as President for another year. You have given this Assembly, if you want to, There will be also an official announcement later on. But really to thank you for your leadership over this assembly. You have really embodied the example of the way you impose and you impress dialogue, the way I've described it before, showing respect, showing no double standards. I've been with you in many of these visits, and I've seen how the interlocutors you interact with receive you. I think it's to your merit that there is also a different atmosphere in this assembly. There is, of course, many countries have different opinions from each other. There are many issues that divide us. But the way you have operated has unified a lot of members, and you can see that there is a very good atmosphere in these members, and this is very much thanks to your work, Madam President. So with this, I would like to also thank all the members of this assembly who show me very many times expressions of sympathy, of friendship. I very much like personal contact with all of you, and I hope we can continue this in the future. Thank you very much.
Dear Roberto, thank you very much. Thank you for your good work, first of all. Thank you for the spirit of transparency that we have in here. Thank you, of course, for your kind words. And I think the Secretariat as a whole, with you leading the Secretariat, does such an enormous work. It's a small, there's 2 small offices, more or less, and we are very grateful to the work that you do. So I also want to thank the staff of the Secretariat from the deepest of my heart. Thank you. Are there any comments? Yes, please. Colleague from Canada, please.
Yes, thank you. Senator Down from Canada. You mentioned in your report about the cooperation with the OSCE. I'm just wondering if you could expand on that. What happens to the resolutions, the documents that come from here? Are they actually presented to the OSCE ministers? Is there debate on it? How is that done? If you could explain that, please.
Thank you very much for the question. This touches upon a very delicate issue which we've been debated yesterday also in the Rules Committee, which talks about our proceedings. All this work that has been done here will be summarized in the Minsk declaration that you are about to approve. And after this, the procedure is as follows, and I will describe it to you, but I have concerns about the effectiveness of the procedures. These declarations will be sent by me in a letter to foreign ministers. I wonder what kind of attention will be given to my letter to the foreign ministers, but that's beyond the point. The declaration then will be presented by Ambassador Montella in our Vienna office to delegates in Vienna. It will happen next week or in 2 weeks' time. Normally in July, the OSCE in Vienna is ready to go on holiday, so probably Ambassador Motella's meeting, and I've been in those meetings in the last 7 years, will be attended from some ambassadors, some interested countries whose declarations or whose resolutions are particularly of interest to them, some number 2, number 3s in the embassies, but I would say not always from a very, very attentive crowd. I mean, but Ambassador Montella does a great job in making a synopsis of these annual sessions. Very often, I have learned a lot of things that have happened in these annual sessions from Ambassador Montella's summary. So the summary is very effective. However, the ears is sometimes not a very attentive ear. Then we go on holiday in August. In September, we start with the process of drafting ministerial declarations for the ministerial meeting that takes place in December. And the ministerial declarations are normally on issues like trafficking, like migrations, exactly the issues that you have debated here. But in 7 years, I have never seen in Vienna the delegates saying, well, as we want to draft something on migration, let's see what was just approved back in Minsk. It's a brand new drafting. The reason for this is because this assembly works by majority, of course, so some of the resolutions are contested and some countries disagree. The OSCE governmental side works by consensus, so they will not find the language that we approved here satisfactory to them. So our effort mainly, and Ambassador's effort with his colleagues in Vienna, is to go to all the committees where these documents are discussed and try to introduce some of the language or recognition of the work that the Parliamentary Assembly has done. This process goes from September to December. Then in December, at the ministerial meeting, they have ministerial declarations that in the last years, very few have been approved, the ministerial declarations, let alone the ones where the OSCPA might be mentioned in a sentence. And that's it. Then the ministerial declaration is approved. The ministers will pay some attention to it, some not. The OSCE is not a legally binding organization, so we make political commitments. So also if these are approved, they become only political commitments. And this is the process. So this is technically what happens. I think there is a value also in the process itself, but it's very important what you do also back in your parliaments with this and how much you engage your governments in ensuring that they look into what we have approved here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I just want to remind you there are 5 more minutes, so you can go to the elections. Please, there is another intervention. Hedi Frey, please, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. I would like to take this opportunity to thank Roberto Montella. I have seen the difference in the way that we have progressed in our attitudes and the way that we've run things around here, and I really want to thank you for that. You've brought a fresh outlook, and there is a huge amount of discussion with everyone in terms of how you should move forward and what you do. I also want to personally thank you for asking Gustavo to, at that high level, to ensure that gender has become a priority of the OSCP. So thank you very much. Christine, obviously, you know I think you've done a great job, and I just want to congratulate you on that, because I have noted the tone in this particular meeting. I have been at past meetings, and sometimes when we disagreed in a sort of verbally violent manner. I noticed that while we disagreed today, or the last few days, that there was a respectful, not always sort of gentle, but quite often very vocally, but respectful responses to some of the things that we disagreed on. And finally, I just wanted to take the opportunity on behalf of the Canadian delegation to thank our hosts here in Belarus and to say that we have enjoyed their hospitality. We've enjoyed the way everything has moved very smoothly. And I want to say that their cultural evenings have been extraordinary. So thank you very much from the Canadian delegation.
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Hedi Frey. I just wanted to say on the gender perspective, it's not by chance that these nice changes and also the internal reform of the Parliamentary Assembly happens in a moment where we have a female president and a female treasurer. We are under strict scrutiny and strict instructions, so thank you to their leadership.
So you see, thank you very much. I just want to give us a short comment also on the first question which was put. I am going to be at the meeting of the informal meeting of the foreign ministers in 2 days' time on Tuesday, very close to Vienna. And I can assure you that I will bring our work to their close attention when all the ministers meet. This is very important for me because we have a strong voice there. So the Parliamentary Assembly, me, is invited to be there, and I will do this, and they will get the information about the meeting here and about the Minsk Declaration. And then, of course, as Roberto already mentioned, I think what is very important is also to bring this work, this international work we do here, back to our parliaments, and we really have to discuss it in parliaments. So to see that the value of this work can be seen and is discussed, and then then it takes its way. So we try on all ways to really to show the important work and the important discussions and our declarations to